Imagine desert horizons where hardly any human foot has ever trodden, ancient mysteries hidden beneath the layers of centuries, and objects that appear where you least expect them. Today on the FactsRoom channel, we set off on a special journey to reveal astonishing discoveries and places lost at the very epicenter of our planet. Get ready to learn about forgotten fortresses, remote monasteries, gigantic frozen ruins, and unfathomable natural phenomena. You will definitely want to watch until the very end, because each story here is truly unpredictable. Make yourselves comfortable, and let us begin. The arid heart of Chile, the Atacama Desert, has long been recognized as the driest non-polar place on the planet. Yet in the midst of this boundless, lifeless plain stands a man-made object sure to take anyone's breath away. It is a sculpture of a gigantic hand, which the locals call Mano del Desierto. It seems as if some mythical giant is reaching out from beneath the earth itself. The structure rises to the height of several floors and was created from concrete reinforced with a metal framework, commissioned by the small mining town of Antofagasta. For many decades, it has stirred a wide spectrum of emotions in travelers, from awe to admiration. Interestingly, the terrain is so flat that at first people mistake this desert for mere sand, but the high salinity of the soil and the near-total absence of moisture make it treacherous. It is easy to get lost, and without an adequate supply of water and fuel, it is best not to venture there. However, those who do manage the journey gain the chance to witness this surreal masterpiece with their own eyes. How do you imagine the final resting place of a king? Most likely, it would be a majestic abbey, a family crypt, or a vast sarcophagus. Yet the English monarch Richard III was found under an ordinary parking lot. The skeleton was discovered a few years ago in the city of Leicester, when a team of archaeologists went looking for the remains of the Grey Friars Church, where, according to legend, the king was buried after falling in battle. The subsequent deoxyribonucleic acid research and radiocarbon analysis indicate that the bones truly belong to this ruler, who perished at the end of the 15th century. Once this sensational find was presented to the world, it reignited numerous debates on what Richard III was really like. After all, literary tradition cast him in nearly a villainous role. Modern scholars, however, are now striving to reinterpret his character. The crypt containing his royal remains was transferred to Leicester Cathedral, and the exact spot where he was found is now a protected monument. It is a splendid example of how history can suddenly emerge in the least expected places. Imagine having to climb every single day a steep and sheer staircase that seems to reach straight into the heavens. This is daily life for monks in Georgia, on the limestone monolith of Katski. Its height is comparable to that of several multi-story buildings, and perched atop it is one of the most secluded monasteries in the world. The only way up is via narrow metal pegs hammered into the rock face. Legend holds that the first church here was built many centuries ago by those seeking silence and isolation far from mundane clamor. The monks refer to the ascent as a time of prayer and self-discovery, for it requires considerable effort and roughly 24 minutes, during which the soul truly feels lifted above all earthly concerns. There is no public transportation, so pilgrims typically arrive by car or through guided tours. They say the view is fantastic, mountains and open sky in every direction, and the monastery itself appears to float above the rest of the world. In an old photograph, there is a strange object that eyewitnesses claim hovered over a wooded area, resembling a classic flying saucer. People described it as if it were resting on the treetops, effortlessly balanced in midair. The next day, legend says, the saucer disappeared without a trace, leaving behind neither scorch marks nor dents on the ground. Many still debate whether it was a failed hoax, a rare natural occurrence, or an authentic visit from guests of another galaxy. That puzzling photo resurfaces on the internet from time to time, rekindling discussion with each appearance. Perhaps if extraterrestrials truly intended to leave a message, we would already know about it. Or maybe it passed by unnoticed. Who can say? Regardless, stories like this continually spark people's curiosity about the possibility of other forms of life. Have you ever come across something unusual on a casual stroll? An Argentine resident, Jose Antonio Nieve, can certainly boast of a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. On the banks of a river, he came across an enormous fossilized shell. His initial thought was dinosaur egg, yet he was slightly disappointed to learn that it was just the shell of a prehistoric glyptodon, a distant ancestor of present-day armadillos. Nonetheless, the discovery is still remarkable. The skeleton of this gigantic creature was preserved astonishingly well. Scientists once theorized that a hole in the upper portion of the shell might have been where the head fit, but more thorough investigation showed it was merely the result of natural decay over time. Glyptodons were herbivorous and could grow to the size of a compact car. So, although Jose's dream of finding a dinosaur egg did not pan out, he contributed a genuinely significant piece to science. There is even a theory that additional fossilized remains may lie nearby, as the region abounds in intriguing geological surprises. When we envision a beach, we often picture a soothing seaside getaway, lapping waves, and golden sand. Bombay Beach in California, however, overturns that picture altogether. Tucked away in isolation on the shore of the brackish Salton Sea, it is known not for postcard scenery, but for a stifling odor, an abundance of fish bones, and the skeletons of old buildings. It all began at the beginning of the previous century when, in an effort to create a brand new resort district out of parched desert, water from the Colorado River was diverted into the area. At first, people flocked here in droves, but as time passed, the ecological balance was upended. The salinity of the water rose, industrial operations introduced contamination, and fish died en masse, leaving the shoreline covered in remains and an unsettling smell. Of course, most residents fled. Now, at Bombay Beach, one sees only vacant structures with flaking paint and the remnants of bones scattered about. Yet it has become a quirky tourist draw for its post-apocalyptic feel, letting visitors imagine themselves as characters in a film set in a ruined world. Welcome to the very heart of the Sahara, where everything merges into a sweltering haze. At the center of this massive desert expanse lies the dormant volcanic crater of Guanamos. Since ancient times, it has been a lifesaver for caravans, as the crater's basin shelters small pools of water. However, there is a major reason locals call this oasis the mosquito crater. The water teems with these aggravating insects. Historically, caravanners would still take the risk and make camp here, because in the desert, even a trickle of water can be priceless. Past volcanic activity once produced fertile soil around the blackened cone, and the water in these lakes is quite salty and not very suitable for drinking. Nonetheless, any water supply in such isolated places is a true godsend. Of course, guides nowadays suggest bringing plenty of insect repellent, netting, and a good deal of patience. In North Dakota, nestled among flat farmland and peaceful prairies, stands a facility that looks like a curious combination of an Egyptian pyramid and hidden bunkers. This is the Stanley R. Mickelson Complex, run by the government of the United States and built during the Cold War to intercept hostile missiles. Rumor has it that it is equipped to fire close to 100 types of projectile weaponry, in addition to having numerous radar systems scanning the skies for threats. Externally, it is a network of mysterious concrete buildings plunging into the ground, but inside awaits a whole labyrinth of tunnels, bunkers, and command stations. Designers strove mightily to camouflage all the infrastructure. Though entry is tightly restricted, a few explorers and photographers have managed to slip in and take photographs, images that promptly circulated online. When you look at them, it is easy to imagine the end-of-days scenario. Concrete corridors, dim fluorescent lighting, command panels studded with buttons reminiscent of science fiction. But all of it reflects a genuine chapter of history. High in the Bulgarian mountains, one finds a massive stone structure that bears an uncanny resemblance to a grounded flying saucer. This is the Buzluja Monument, a towering circular edifice constructed in the Soviet era on a summit once witness to decisive battles and clandestine socialist meetings. Its construction began in the 70s of the previous century, drawing legions of engineers, military personnel, and artists. Erected as a symbol of unity and the sweeping power of the ideology, it was eventually abandoned when the socialist system collapsed and rapidly fell into disrepair. Even now, you can find remnants of mosaics, stained glass, and emblems inside. Some adventure seekers say a side entrance remains unsealed, allowing visitors to wander the half-ruined chambers where wooden planks cover the windows and wind gusts echo with faint remnants of old slogans. Despite its decay, Buzluja still draws urban explorers and anyone eager to experience history firsthand. In a striking corner of Arizona, within the Havasupai Reservation, lies a breathtaking marvel of nature, Havasu Falls. Many people have glimpsed them in travel brochures or calendars, for the water glows with an otherworldly turquoise-green tint. The name of the native people translates to the people of blue-green waters, which is perfectly apt. The high concentration of magnesium and calcium in the stream gives it this remarkable color. The waterfall plunges from a vertical cliff into a deep lagoon, which at times gleams sky blue, and at others an emerald hue. However, getting there is no trivial pursuit. You must undertake a long trek through desert and canyon pathways. Nevertheless, past visitors rave that every step is worth it. Certain daredevils even hurl themselves off the cliffs into the turbulent water, though peering down can be daunting. Yet the sense of freedom and the area's beauty are absolutely unforgettable. Drought, scorching heat, people oppressed by thirst, and then, in Tunisia's Gafsa region, practically overnight, a vast lake emerges. Its scale is astonishing. The water stretches across an entire hectare, and its total volume is said to be unbelievably large. At first, the water was crystal clear and sparkled irresistibly in the sun. Locals were so thrilled at the sudden appearance of this miracle that they flocked to swim in large numbers, heedless of safety warnings. After a while, the lake turned murky green, and scientists started voicing concerns that it might be tainted with harmful substances. Even so, that did not deter the throng of people eager to cool off. There is still no definitive scientific explanation, but one widely shared theory holds that underground tremors forced groundwater to break the surface. The lake's abrupt materialization in such a parched region struck many as a virtually divine sign, given how priceless even a little fresh water can be here. To this day, the lake remains a mystery, drawing both daredevil tourists and investigators of the unexplained. Antarctica is renowned for its punishing conditions, where weather can shift so swiftly that each flight becomes a genuine challenge. Military airplanes once known as Lockheed Constellations, nicknamed Pegasus, flew transport routes between New Zealand and the icy continent. However, one particular flight ended with a very rough landing when a sudden storm lashed out and there was no going back. The aircraft had nearly run out of fuel, and the point of no return was behind them. The plane touched down on the snow, remaining intact enough that its fuselage still juts out from the ice today. The cabin has long been deserted. Hardly any paint remains. Nature has transformed it into a kind of outdoor exhibition. Rusted parts lie exposed, and occasional graffiti from intrepid visitors marks the hull. Locals have dubbed the area the Polar Graveyard. Though it appears unwelcoming, some thrill-seekers and lovers of Antarctic scenery occasionally journey here to witness this uncanny fragment of aviation history. Death Valley in California is known for a multitude of natural anomalies. One of the most intriguing is the question, do stones really sail there? Logically, heavy rocks should not be able to shift without intervention, yet on the valley's cracked clay bed, people regularly come across trails left by their movements. Nonetheless, no one has ever caught them in the act. Researchers theorize that the secret may lie in a delicate layer of ice forming at night, combined with mild gusts of wind. Once the ice melts, the rocks appear to slide, leaving winding tracks behind them. These travelers vary in size, from fairly small to undeniably massive. Each passing year, the tracks shift and renew, fueling fresh speculation that perhaps the authorities are keeping some marvel under wraps. After all, the environment already feels otherworldly. Scorching temperatures in daytime, a biting chill after sunset, and no sign of human dwellings for countless miles. Fortifications dot the coast of France, but Fort Boyard is quite special. Even from a distance, it creates an illusion of floating above the waves. It was first built to protect the coast of Charente and the city of Rochefort from hostile fleets. Construction began in the 17th century, but was soon deemed too costly, so the project was shelved for many years. Only during Napoleon's reign, amid heightened tension with foreign powers, was the fort finally completed. Its formidable walls were designed to withstand naval bombardment, housing armories and barracks within. For many years, the fort remained under military authority, but it later gained wider fame thanks to television programs filmed within its battlements. Gaining access is not straightforward, but the atmosphere of the place is breathtaking. The salty Atlantic winds howling, the rhythmic crash of waves, and bastioned corridors steeped in history. It takes little imagination to picture cannons roaring in battle and warships besieging the fortress from the sea. Within the forests of Bosnia, close to a modest town, an archaeology enthusiast uncovered a massive stone sphere partly protruding from the soil. Initially, only a small segment was visible. As excavations continued, an almost perfectly round shape was exposed, its origins still debated. The discoverer believes it provides ancient proof of some bygone culture, endowed with specialized stone-shaping methods. Skeptics argue that nature, too, can yield such features through geological layering, mineral cementation, and similar processes. Even so, the enigma remains unresolved, and the sphere entices numerous travelers with a taste for mystery. According to the geological composition, it may indeed have formed in an especially unusual way. Still, the near-ideal symmetry is astounding. It might be that additional artifacts or archaeological evidence will one day cast new light on its secret. Where would you look for the richest fossil deposits of prehistoric marine mammals? Perhaps on an ocean coastline or on the seafloor? Not necessarily. In fact, an incredible whale cemetery was unearthed in the midst of a Chilean desert at a site called Cerro Balena, Whale Hill. Shockingly, it is perched many dozens of miles above sea level. Some time back, a construction team was extending the Pan American Highway and stumbled upon a trove of fossilized whale skeletons and other sea creatures. Experts suggest that eons ago, a particular strain of bacteria proliferated here, triggering mass die-offs of marine life. Their carcasses washed ashore, and desert sediments then encased them, preserving the skeletons with remarkable completeness. Researchers have identified several categories of ancient whales in these remains, some about which little had previously been known. It is theorized that these mass deaths occurred more than once, layering deposit upon deposit of paleontological clues. Each skeleton is a fragment of an immense puzzle, shedding new light on the secrets of our planet's distant past. Amid the vast stretches of Nevada, right beside the storied Area 51, stands an unusual motel bearing a suitably whimsical name, the Little Ailey Inn. This family-run establishment has been around for more than a quarter of a century, famed for its alien ambiance and an atmosphere cloaked in enigma. The motel is located in a place called Rachel, where locals delight in spinning eerie tales of cosmic visitors. And perhaps that is unsurprising. Area 51 has forever been linked to conspiracy lore and outlandish speculation about extraterrestrials. Inside, guests are greeted by faux flying saucers, tiny green alien figurines, and assorted nods to science fiction. Though its quirky name implies it might have been built by beings from another world, the reality is more commonplace. It is simply a secluded lodging for enthusiasts of the paranormal. According to rumor, the owners are remarkably hospitable, and if you ever brave the lonely highways by night, you too might encounter something uncanny. Thus, nearly in the heart of emptiness, one can encounter truly striking discoveries. History and nature both show that even the most barren or remote locations can harbor something gripping. Let us know in the comments if you have ever stumbled upon anything astonishing far from civilization. And do not forget to support our episode with a like. See you soon on the FactsRoom channel.